Did you know a single pinhead drop of our individual DNA has enough information in it to fill volumes of books reaching to the moon and 500 times past? Oh my gosh! I have not been taught on this subject yet in the Ageless Wisdom teachings, but I can't help but wonder if the information is gathered and stored in the eternal atom, which is us individually and exclusively, lifetime after lifetime. Wow, I'd love to read those books. Now, before I get into the principle of action reaction, as I promised, let me encourage you. Do not be dismayed at the difficulty in wrapping your head around the words I share of the principles. They are meant to encourage the listener and extend hope that there is another way to approach liberation from the worldly thinking and circumstances. There are many, many choices for assisting in changing habits, and business is booming in such a field. Until the principles come alive to you, the choice which seems most fitting for you should be utilized to the best of one's ability. However, once the success is received through the courageous utilization of a principle, the victory, be assured, is entire and eternal. What victories you leave with from this lifetime carries forward to all other lifetimes. The words I share will come to the forefront of the listener's mind as daily life is lived out, and the timing for such revelation and understanding has arrived. When the light comes on, it is written on each soul the exact moment of such enlightenment, of understanding the totality of God. When that precise time comes, you will find the barriers lifted. To attempt foreseen spiritual movement of this kind without the guidance of the soul can be extremely dangerous to the yet fully evolved mind. True liberation is seldom instantaneous, but requires purposeful change and adjustment from within. Ageless wisdom teacher Alan Hop King puts it, it calls upon a person to make decisions from within, decisions which the soul wants, not what the little personality desires. And he also instructs meditation governs all expansions of consciousness. It is a time of withdrawing within and exploring the realms of the soul. In this practice, you become familiar with the sound of your own soul's voice and become confident in its guidance until that moment of trust arrives. And if you are familiar with the Holy Scriptures, just always weigh the guidance you sense from the soul against those Scriptures. As a rule, your sincerity wraps you in protection from the dark side, yet that same sincerity makes you a prime target. So always be alert. Therefore, when you pray to be freed of confusion regarding the principles of which I share, pray most fervently for understanding. It will come. The words describing the principles are explanations of the true divine energy and forces behind the precepts documented in the Bible, which Jesus came as Christ and taught through parables for easier understanding of how to live in that time of humanity's evolution. We are now on the brink of greater understanding. The seeds will grow within your sincere inner garden. Unhampered liberty on earth as it is in heaven is your rightful gift now in this lifetime. So persist and never give up, for you dwell in and breathe divine assistance. There is eternity provided for the soul perfection process. So relax, just simply live, practicing harmlessness, and let your soul handle the flow. Now we get into the tools for the principle of action reaction. Everything oppressive in our lives is a lie. Until humanity has evolved to completely recognize, live, and walk in the principle of harmlessness, we must, in the retraining process, handle circumstances or obstacles in specific ways, most specifically how they are perceived and our attitudes toward them. God has made, immersed the world in pure goodness and given mankind principles by which to access that goodness or not. How we mentally, ignorantly, cognitively use them is our free will. to not access them independently or rebelliously and to just rely on our own base thoughts is what brings about the chaos and negativity in our lives. Mankind has named this state of affairs as Satan. This is repeated day after day and life after life until the thought process is evolved and retrained, and finally, with much courage, the enlightened individual refuses to believe the lies and responds against the flow of common man's expected and customary response. The keynote of our lives, then, with the decision to walk the path to right living, must be obedience to the highest that is in us, love to all beings in all kingdoms, and complete confidence in the power of the indwelling Christ principle to demonstrate through the outer form of our personalities the life of harmlessness and love. When I think of this principle of action-reaction, the first thing that comes to my mind is the vortex of perpetual conflict in which too many marriages find themselves and the rising divorce statistics as a result. So let me approach that example first, and then it may be easier to grasp how to utilize the principle in all other conflicts of daily life. Souls are brought together for many reasons, but always toward perfection. Those drawn together through love have a special path. Those who can recognize it have their moment before witnesses to make the quality decision to the commitment of helping their partner in matrimony reach their goals with no thought of self or concern for self's future. It is very much the law of laying down one's life for the other. To make such a commitment means to commit to the lifelong challenge of living together in harmlessness, caring, and sharing, in intelligent loving and understanding, as each works through the often awkward traits until victory reigns, and to recognize the efforts and share the joy at each crossroad and victory. The adamant caution is to be always aware of the spirit of control, which will inevitably attack any unsuspecting marriage. It comes in at the beginning with the words, I do, simply for the task of division. There cannot be 50-50 in a loving marriage, but more like 150-150. Make sure the spirit of control knows that is your choice when it tries to rear its ugly head. Until divinity has been expressed in the home and among those who know us well and our familiar friends, it cannot be expected to express itself elsewhere. We must live as sons of God in the setting, albeit sometimes drab or sordid, in which destiny places us. There is nowhere else at this stage of humanity's evolution in which that is possible. And until one learns the subordination to the group will and need, with its lessons of sacrifice, understanding, and service, he can make no further progress on his spiritual path. Spend time in concentrated thought each day and often throughout the day on how it would seem and feel in each situation before it repeats itself if you can. Do the same for the inflicted person. Think and plan how you will respond in the new positive way, then be brave enough to do it. Ask for divine assistance to find the right way and to help you through it. Know the help and power at your beckon. Call each attack of lies as they are, lies, and refuse to believe them as such. Put into practice what the Bible says. Say and think what is the flip side of what's perceived and act as though it is done. If at first it is too difficult to say or think it, then say or do nothing at all. The moment will pass and you will find the issue will also more quickly dissipate. As you get retrained in this response, the issues will begin to dissolve seemingly before your eyes, and you will be able to respond with silent brotherly love energies instead. When we step purposefully on the path to right thinking and living, we draw into our lives opportunities to act and react rightly. Many of such circumstances are karmic and will repeat itself time and again throughout each lifetime until one says, Stop the merry-go-round! and gives the situation full attention of the principle. It is awkward, perhaps, but keep on, and it will prove itself to you and assist in the courage it takes to step out of the flow of the common world. I promise you, from the results you will sense or and see immediately, the awkwardness will be replaced with enthusiasm for the next victory. And remember, each victory through principles is eternal. You may even forget it had ever been an issue in your life. Never forget to be profusely grateful for the opportunities presented in the liberation of your soul. This one specific principle of God meant for use in every situation in every kingdom on earth, plant, animal, etc. This principle called action-reaction. When the reaction is changed, the action has no choice but to change or completely disappear. God's principles are infallible and immediate. Even if it is not visible to the naked eye, it has been sent into powerful motion by your sincere desire to respond rightly. Know this. Simply stepping out in faith with sincere pure intent brings the entire good universe to your assistance, making it easier and more delightful, exciting, and effective with each attempt. It's as though God is holding your hand, melting away the path before you, ultimately raising you to exist with Him in the high places as promised in Isaiah 58:14. The common proposed remedy in repetitive misbehaviors in any kingdom is to pray or believe or punish the entity of that initiating behavior, that action. Indeed, it is only when the reaction is changed that the action is freed to change and that soul released from its inadvertently self-inflicted prison. To comprehend and put this into dedicated action is to lay down your life for the inflicted one, for it requires of you to set your pride and sense of justice aside. That is true love in any kingdom. And you will come to understand that with each success through the principles, the entirety of mankind is raised another level. Remember, we are all one. So that is why the relief you will feel is as though you took that healing action on yourself. Always try to keep in mind that to be here on this planet Earth is for the purpose of working out our own salvation. Those karmic debts, another principle of cause and effect, sow and reap, using this principle of action-reaction will aid greatly in their passing. These debts have to be paid, yet a sincere change, attempt, commitment to living harmlessly can greatly reduce the impact and even cancel it completely. The divine principle knows when there has been complete victory in your soul. How we handle the execution of these debts determines the delight of our present life and future lives. In the individual practice of this principle, the whole of humanity evolves according to God's great plan. I know you can see it. Be of great courage and start now. Sincere effort counts. It is required of us to eventually come to love all humanity. All efforts toward practicing the principle of harmlessness brings that possibility closer. As I put myself through this, and as I spoke last week on how to wash your mind, in understanding the very makeup of my body being the same substance as all infinities and gods, I released the struggle to love and just simply let God's love flow through me uninhibited. When a situation or someone gets in my face and tries to block that flow, I remind myself that such a block is also of the same substance and cannot block it. Thus, situations resolve divinely as God would have it. Like water through a hose leaves its deposit in its path, in being a conduit for divine love, it bathes me also, and I become the love for humanity. No, I have not perfected it, and I am grateful to have infinity to do so. Yet, with every attempt, every baby step in that direction results in a giant leap for that practicing soul and for all mankind. Be prepared for embracing and understanding those changes will most definitely set you apart. Yet it isn't something that you can force or pretend, which brings great danger in such deceit. You will recognize in your mind and spirit that setting apart as you go about your daily life and conversations. When your actions follow your knowledge, it will become obvious and most likely uncomfortable to those in your general circle who are of little or no understanding yet of what you have chosen to experience in this, your evolutionary podvig. Be kind and patient with them, for we each have a specific time set for our spiritual awakening. Pray for them. Set your example always through right actions and reactions, and press on with courage, for the entire universe, remember, works unceasingly for those who have made such a courageous choice. I tell you this for the truth of it in which I have proven. I tell you all this to prepare you for those changes, that you will recognize them as the moving forward in your spiritual path, not the losing of your mind. Trust your soul, which inhabits the omniscience, all-knowing of God, to be your only confidant and teacher, as in 1 John 2:27. Never boast and flaunt your experience, for your progress will be greatly hindered, as such a practice alienates those souls on the path behind you. This is not an easy spiritual path, for it requires great effort in changing from the world's thinking to that of God's. Be of good courage and faint not. Spend no time in dismay, for it may take a lifetime or more to perfect it. Yet always remember, sincere effort counts. This is the principle. React divinely or not at all, seeing it for what it really is, an opportunity to cancel a karmic debt or practice harmlessness. Sincere students need to remember that devotion to the path or to the master is not enough. God, the divine omniscient principle, is ever seeking. His eyes run to and fro over the world, looking for intelligent cooperators and workers. And a sincere student who is walking independently in the light of his own soul is regarded as a more dependable instrument than a devoted fanatic. The light of his soul will reveal to that earnest aspirant the unity underlying all groups and enable him to eliminate the poison of intolerance which taints and hinders so many. It will cause him to recognize the spiritual fundamentals which guide the steps of humanity. It will force him to overlook the intolerance and the fanaticism and separateness which characterize the small mind and the beginner upon the path, and help him to so love them that they will begin to see more truly and enlarge their own horizon. It will enable him to estimate truly the esoteric, deeply divine value of service, and teach him above all to practice that harmlessness which is the outstanding quality of every son of God. A harmlessness that speaks no word that can damage another person, that thinks no thought which could poison or produce misunderstanding, and which does no action which could hurt the least of his brethren. This includes facial expressions and body language. This is the main virtue which will enable the sincere student to tread with safety the difficult path of development. Where the emphasis is laid upon service to one's fellow man and the trend of the life force is outward to the world, then there is freedom from danger, and the sincere student can safely meditate and aspire and work. His motive is pure, and he is seeking to decentralize his personality and shift his focus away from himself to the group. Thus the life of the soul can pour through him and express itself as love to all beings. He knows himself to be part of the whole, and the life of the whole can flow through him consciously, leading him to a realization of brotherhood and of his oneness in relation to all manifested lives. Such is the result of living in the principles of harmlessness and action-reaction. This is the life to strive for. And remember, you always have instant help. Get in the habit of remembering that small but enormous fact. The akasa, that divine manifesting substance which is us as one with God and makes up our bodies and minds is there as a principle for our use, as God. Begin to believe it and use it. It is not just there for manifesting physical needs, but emotional, mental, and spiritual needs also. Akasa permeates everything. Ask, and ye shall receive. One last thing I would like to say, since I have been approached on how to grasp the concept and power of the manifesting thought. Think of it this way. You go to the cupboard to get a piece of bread and the bread bag is empty. You intuitively note to get more either immediately or within your schedule. And so it is done, and now you have bread in your cupboard. That was the goal, right? But stop and think about this. Did you ponder unnecessarily on the steps, the time, the effort it would take in the getting of it? Most likely not. It was determined and it just got done. Now, contemplate on the moment that you decided to have that bread in your cupboard again. Focus on that very moment, that determination. Let it grow into closer focus. Did you have any doubts, or was it simply a fact? You get such determinations so often during the day that it is seldom, if ever, noticed. But now you must bring it to the forefront. It may take many times of trying, but as you do finally see it face to face, introduce yourself to your new BFF, that is, best friend forever in today's jolly jargon. This is the determination, the mindset, the ease, the very attitude that you will mold your life with from this moment on. It is a principle of God. Exercise that attitude with forefront consciousness several times a day, or at least often enough not to let it slide back into obscurity. When it becomes as autonomic as your breathing, as buying bread, and your life circumstances portray it, you will recognize the victory and know what to do about it. File it away or keep it exercised. It's a principle and it's your free will. Be always and profusely grateful to God, for gratitude fuels this all-powerful, omnipotent gift. This has been Lady J. It's always delightful to have you join us here on Mighty Spectrums on Voice America. And Voice America is now available on voiceamerica.tv for 24-hour streaming programs. Be sure to take time to check out Denise's inspirational photo gems on her website, essenceofauthenticpresence.com, and my products. There are many on my bookstore, Spirit Wine Publications, that is spiritwinepub.com. You will find a transcript of today's principle of action-reaction, along with the audio and other blessings on my corporate website, amritanicolemarketing.com. What if you, being you, is the gift that will change the world? Let that profound statement see you through an awesome weekend.